my time right now. It's my time right now. Yeah, this is
Welcome to another episode of East Texas Unfiltered. I'm your host, J. Chad Parker. Today we're going to have a conversation with a lawyer friend of mine, a guy who's been practicing over 50 years. He's been in Tyler since the late 50s. He's seen the city change. He's made a lot of relationships with people. He knows a lot about what goes on and how the city works. John, thanks for being here.
Oh, goodness. Thank you.
Now, you and I, full disclosure, you and I are close friends.
Close friends.
And you've been a mentor to me for quite a while. And I'm happy to have you on the show and preserve your legacy here because I think it's an important one.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You know, a lot of people, they know you from different things. Maybe it's, your legal work, your group, and, your city council work. You've done a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of things. I was in the Civic Theater for 30 years, president of that, and on the board for a long, long time. So a lot of people know me from that. A lot of people know me from being a lawyer. A lot of people know me. I was on the city council. A lot of people know me from other political aspects. It's just been an accumulation of a lot of stuff and a lot of people over a lot of years.
Well, people probably don't know where you were born, and I know that to be Crockett, right?
Well, actually, I was born in Houston. I don't think my mother trusted the.
They didn't have a hospital in Crockett then?
Not one that you would want to be born in, but that was just where I was born. I was brought up in Crockett until I was about 12, and we moved up here to Tyler.
What caused the family to choose Tyler and to move in the first place?
That was never really explained to me at that time or since. So, of course, they're dead now, but my guess is it was economics.
Did you have siblings?
I had one brother. He's about 8 years older than me, and he died about 12 years ago.
All right. So your dad, when your family moved to Tyler, I mean, you could obviously kind of see what he did for a living. So when you say economics, did you see a job that he or your mother went to?
Well, my mother worked for an insurance company, and my father was insurance sales, traveling, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. And so was he gone a lot or was he at home a lot?
He was gone quite a bit, yeah.
When you came to Tyler, do you recall whether you liked being here or you missed leaving Crockett? I mean...
No, I hated it.
All right. You didn't like it at all?
No. I had all of my friends and my family were there in Crockett, my grandparents and my cousins and my uncle and all kinds of, and of course, all my friends. And I was just... jerked up out of Crockett and brought to Tyler where I knew no one, had no family, nothing. And I didn't like it.
I guess you enrolled in school, and when you got here, and that was probably Hogg Middle School?
Hogg Junior High at that time.
You were in what grade?
7th grade.
All right, so you go through Hogg, and then you go on to what was Robert E. Lee?
Correct.
Did you begin to build kind of an affection for Tyler after being jerked out of Crockett?
Well, of course, I began to make friends and adjusted, but it took a while. It took a couple of years.
I mean, what was Tyler like, in the late 50s? I mean, early 60s as far as, meeting people? I mean, it was much smaller, I presume.
Oh, yeah. It was probably when we moved here, there may have been 25,000, 30,000 people. And when I graduated from Lee in 64, I think it may have been 40. And when I came back here from law school, it was a little bit bigger than that, not much. Tyler just didn't grow much back in those days. But yeah, it was Broadway Street ended at the cemetery up here.
Rose Hill Cemetery.
Yeah, one road to the left went to Troop, and one road to the right went to Jacksonville. And there was a dead end. That Broadway did not go through to the Loop. The Loop had just been built in, I think, 56 or 57. And it wasn't until I got into high school, I think the first year, that they cut through Broadway to the Loop from the cemetery. It was a 2-lane road. The Loop was a 2-lane road without curb and gutter. And the only thing out there was Lee. I think there was a gas station on the corner of Broadway and the Loop. The Christian church built there pretty soon thereafter. There was a Lutheran church across north from Lee, and that was pretty much it.
Wow, it's changed a lot. That makes sense, though, because we know that, like you said, at the beginning of Rose Hill Cemetery, it says Old Troop Highway to the left, and then at Burkeville Center,
And Old
Jacksonville Highway to the right, right? I mean, that's
it.
man, how strange it must be to you to ride around today and look at the city compared to when you first got here.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I would never have thought Tyler would have had the kind of growth that it has had. Of course, there's a lot of reasons for that, but it's been an amazing thing to see. It sure has. And I remember at the intersection there at Broadway, to go back to that, on the right hand, on the east side, the west side of that area, right at that intersection, there was the Brown Derby restaurant. It was very popular. It was named after the Brown Derby in Hollywood at the time, where all the celebrities.
Just past where Burkeville Park is?
No, where Old Jacksonville's now splits off to go to Old Jacksonville.
Was it a hat? Brown Derby? Was it like
it was no?
You think of it like a derby hat?
I think it may have had something round on the top, but that was pretty much it.
Back then, let's say early 60s, when you get to high school, are there places to go out to eat in Tyler?
No, hardly any. There was El Charro's, interesting enough, and Luby's. And there was a steakhouse, the Red Barn Steakhouse came in, and it was very popular. And there were a few others, but basically it was Fuller's and Loggins and El Charro, all the family-owned stuff. That's all we had here. We didn't, other than Luby's was, I think, the only franchise.
And all of those were pretty much closer to the north side, closer to downtown, right?
Well, yeah, the Luby's started downtown, right off the square, and then moved out to Burkeville Center when I was in, again, high school. And a lot of stuff that was downtown went out to the mall when they built Broadway Mall.
Do you know when they built the mall, generally?
It would have been in 1976, maybe, somewhere along in there.
That's much later, though, from when.
Much later.
And you were practicing lawyer by then, right?
Yes.
I mean,
in fact, I was on the city council.
When you grew up, I mean, where are the neighborhoods that you can live back then, and where did you live?
Lived originally over a house on Peach Street, which is over by the Rose Garden. House is now gone, been torn down, and there's some kind of children's facility there. Then my mother bought a house on Sneed, where I live now, which is east of Broadway in the East Azalea district.
When you say your mother bought a house, was your dad not around? Did he pass away?
Yeah, he was gone by then.
He was. So you and your mom, your brother, was your brother there 8 years?
No, he was doing his stuff. He was gone. Where was he? I think he was working at a place in Kansas at that time. But no, he just we were the only ones.
All right. So you and your mom pretty much raised you in the later years.
Yeah.
I mean, your high school years, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
Did you find interest at Lee in any particular group? I mean, were you, did you act? Did you write for a paper? Did you start to get involved in things that you later, might use?
I did. I always had a great interest in history and government, and when I got to Lee, there were some great teachers there that taught those subjects, and I was fortunate to have them. I also liked to write, and there was a great English teacher there, Miss Marsh. I had her. She was a fantastic teacher. And Harold Clapp's wife, Ann Clapp, was a government economics teacher. Bob Weich was history.
Bob Weich, yeah.
And there were great teachers there at that time, and they encouraged me. And at some point, when I was a senior in high school, I accomplished all of the courses that I had needed to pass to graduate. So I took whatever basically I wanted to take, and I decided to take speech and debate. George Oliver was the teacher. And so I got into that. And he, the fall semester, and he decided for some reason that I should be in a play. And I'd never acted or anything before, and I didn't understand. But he insisted that I go into this play. There was a one-act play contest at Lee, and he put me, and as a two-character play, it was me and Pam Halbert was my co-star, if you want to say. And we did that for a couple of performances, couple of nights, and the reaction was so positive that I was amazed, and I thought, wow, this is kind of interesting.
Are you talking about the reaction from the students?
Yeah.
I mean, because you think about, back then, I don't know if there was sports. And then when you talk about acting and plays, if that was received well by the general student body, I mean, back then, was it?
Oh, yeah, they attended. Parents came, kids came. It was a full house all the time. And it was a very responsive, reactive crowd. They liked what I did, and they liked our Pam and our relationship on stage.
Y'all had good chemistry?
Good chemistry.
And there's less to do back then. There was no cell phones, not much TV, right? I mean, so this live action play was entertaining to people, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, in my case, I still don't have a cell phone, but that's another story.
I know that. That's very frustrating because I'm tired of calling your house and either leaving a message or waiting for somebody to pick up, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, what if I have an emergency, John, and I've got to get you? I'm going to have to drive over to your house?
I'll find out eventually.
Well, it sounds like this speech teacher, I'm assuming that you had some assignments where you had to get up in front of the class and debate or give a speech.
I assume that's what he based his decision on, or his inclination. And he's a great teacher, George Oliver. He's changed my life in that respect and introducing me to theater. And it was something that I carried forward all my life. But he saw something. I don't know what. He never said, but he just felt I could do it and should do it. And so I did. And I did another play. The senior play was Frankenstein. The Jekyll and Hyde. And I was one of the characters in there, got great reception, got an award, acting award for it at the school.
Were there scholarships back then for college for, acting and theater and things of that nature?
I don't know. I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so, but I'm just curious.
Tuition was so cheap, it was difficult not to get into college back then.
I would say, you always knew you were going to college?
Yeah, and law school. I knew when I was maybe 13 years old that I wanted to be a lawyer.
What inspired you to have that feeling?
Well, when I was growing up in Crockett, there were, I don't know how many lawyers there were, but 5, maybe 6. I don't know. I don't remember, but not many.
Jody Griffiths?
His father came later, but the guy he worked for, J.B. Silas, was the big lawyer there. And there were several others. And I noticed that, number one, they were accorded a little bit different, in a different regard.
Respect.
Yeah. I noticed that there was something that people paid to them that they didn't necessarily to other people. And it was their education, I guess, or maybe what they did for a living. And they represented a lot of people here. And no matter what they thought of them personally, there was a certain admiration. And I'm thinking, well, that's very interesting. And so I just, it just struck me that might be a good thing to do. And I never lost track of that from the time I was that age to when I actually became a lawyer.
Had you ever considered, I mean, because you told us you hadn't taken speech or debate, and it was basically, an elective for you towards the end of high school. Had you never connected that with maybe, being an orator or a lawyer and maybe honing that skill?
No, I never, I never did. I could have, I guess, taken it, but I didn't until that point. And it's just fortuitous that, I was kind of guided in that direction, I believe now, but it was a reason that it happened to me in that way, and it changed my life.
You must have shown some confidence in your speaking and debating, I'm assuming, for the theater teacher to say, hey, I think you'd be good in this part. Did you feel pretty comfortable from the get-go when you'd get up in front of others and speak?
Yeah.
I mean, you've always had a kind of a strong, quiet confidence about yourself that ever since I've known you.
Well, that's yeah. And I think that was part of maybe what Mr. Oliver saw. I don't know, but I'm thinking that it was, but it was something that kind of came natural. And performing before an audience, you're a little nervous at first, but it
Sure.
never bothered me. In fact, I drew energy.
I mean, it's
from
just like, it's energy, right? It's the pre-energy that kind of gets you into the performance.
Yeah. And I got to where when I was acting in the Civic Theater for all those years, I got to where I could walk on a stage and I knew what kind of audience we had.
You could just sense the room?
I could sense that. I could sense what they were laughing at or what they were reacting to before I came on the stage. And I knew when I walked out what kind of audience it was going to be.
I mean, I would say your humor is generally dry. Would you?
Well, it can be.
I mean, were you a showman in any way?
Listen.
Or did you remain dry? Could you get out of, John Trube character into character?
Yes.
I mean, is that something you could do?
There was never a problem. I remember one time I was having difficulty. It was a comedy, and I was having difficulty getting this character I was supposed to be. It's kind of a country bumpkin and and kind of a grown-up little kid and not that smart. But I was having trouble getting that. And one day I went to a closing with my client and in Dallas, I remember this, and across the table was another party, a younger guy. And he started talking and his accent and his mannerisms. I said, that's them. That's the guy. That's my character. And I took that back and did it. And man, it just brought the house down. It was so fascinating to see how that worked. But no, I had no difficulty developing whatever character that was supposed to happen. So it could have been. I played everything from a interior decorator, a swishy interior, to a heavy, to a murderer, to you name it. I played it on a butler. I played it. I played it.
You said college was cheap. You'd always said you were going to be a lawyer. So when was it that you kind of zeroed in on where you wanted to go to college?
Oh, I always knew I wanted to go to the University of Texas. I went to one semester at TJC, and then I transferred in January to Texas. And that's where I always wanted to go. And so that's what I did. I went there for undergraduate and law school.
What was it about? There was a lot of people that are, your generation from Tyler that talk glowingly about the university. They call it the university.
The university.
They wanted to go there.
In fact, there was a bumper sticker that said THEE University.
Yeah. The university.
Yeah, that really pissed off the Aggies, but there was that bumper sticker.
All right, so you're going down to Austin. Had you ever been to Austin before when you get accepted and show up in January?
I think I'd been there once. I think I have. Yeah.
It wasn't the town that you were chasing. It was really more the education at that university. That's what you were after?
Yeah.
Did you know you also wanted to go to law school there?
Yeah.
I mean, you were going to be a Texas grad all the way.
At that time, university was the university. It was building itself into one of the best universities in the country. That was the goal of the administration, was to develop the University of Texas into a premier university in the country, as well as the law school. And you had people there that was their dedication. The teachers they had were unparalleled in the state of Texas. They were the best there were in the fields I was in, which was history and government, and as it turned out, geography and law. I mean, they had the best people in the country there.
Your major, I'm assuming, was some type of history/government?
History, government, double major, and minor in geography.
What was it about geography that interests you? Just the world?
Yeah, I just like to know stuff about different places and where they were and how to locate them and what they produced, what they offered. I was just always fascinated by that. And geography appealed to me because of that.
What were the years that you were in Austin for, college and law school?
Oh, gosh, let's see. I graduated Lee in 1964. I went down there in 1965. I graduated undergraduate in 1967. I went year-round when I was an undergraduate. So I graduated in 3 years.
I did too, from University of Texas.
Right. And then I went to law school, but I took the full 3 years in law school. I was going year-round, but one summer I took off and went to work for the clerk of the House of Representatives in Washington for a summer. And so I graduated law school in 1970.
Okay, so you get there. That's 3 and 3. It's 6. You get there in 1964 maybe, and you get out in 1970?
I got there in 65 and got out in 70 from law school. Yeah.
All right. Now, obviously, this was during the Vietnam War and the most, divisive, the Tet Offensive, all this was going on, right? When you were in Austin at college.
Not only that, it was the
School shooting.
blossoming of marijuana and hippies and all of the stuff that you hear about in the 60s. That's the time it started, was in the mid to late 60s. That was what was going on.
Those are your influences, or those are what you saw as a young kid from Tyler, Texas.
That's what I saw.
Well, was that an eye-opener? I mean, you're coming from Tyler, which is kind of a conservative, religious town, if you will. And then in Austin, you see this explosion of, make love, not war, hippies, all of the other stuff.
That's what
marijuana, right? I mean, everything.
Cooperative groceries, cooperative living. I mean, you name it, it was happening. And that was the birth of it all across the country. I mean, it was going on in a lot of other places, but
for Texas,
Austin and University, that's where it was going on.
When did Charles Whitman shoot from that tower? Well,
that would have been in 1967, maybe. I was still in undergraduate. In fact, on that day, this is kind of weird, but the University of Texas has the tower that you can go up and look out all over central Texas there, hill country. And periodically I would do that because if I had time, because it was an enjoyable experience. I mean, it was very interesting to see all of that and think about it and so forth. So I'd go up there between classes sometimes. And on this particular day, I had class, but I had time, so I went up to the tower. Don't remember why exactly, just wanted to go up there. And the tower had two elevators. One university had two elevators. Well, anyway, I went up there and I was looking around and I came back down, went to class. During the course of the class, the building where my class was Garrison Hall, which was on the mall there.
Right in front of the tower.
Yeah. And so in class, we heard sirens and stuff going on. Everybody was wondering what was happening. And then the class ended. So I went up to go out the front door, which opened up onto the mall. And all of a sudden, this guy comes bursting in the door and bleeding everything all over the door and fell in the floor. And I'm thinking, what in the world? And I looked out, and I saw these people crouching at the base of the flagpoles. You remember those pictures where you saw these people?
I mean, they were getting down because he was still shooting.
He was still shooting. And there were people lying on the mall out there, and I heard the gunshots. So needless to say, I beat a retreat away from the doors. And
you went back inside.
Went back inside. And at some point during that period, the shooting stopped. And so we were all able to leave, not out to the front, but out to the back. So later on, the police, and of course they killed Whitman. They got up there and eventually killed him later in the day. But the paper ran an article in the next day or two about it. They developed a timeline on this guy, and he had begun at his mother's apartment, called the penthouse apartment. Well, that's where Harris Fender had an apartment in there at that time.
From Tyler.
And he killed his mother and then went to the tower. And I knew what time I'd been up there. I knew what time my class started.
Did you see him?
Here's the weird thing. In my calculation as to the timeline that they put, it was very likely that guy was going up one elevator while I was coming down the other. It's very possible that was going on. It was that close. Because he killed everybody that was up there. The little old lady that was up there.
That's what I was about to say. When he got up there, he killed some folks before he set up shop.
Yeah, he killed everybody that was up there.
Golly, so you might have literally dodged a bullet that day.
No question about it.
Yeah, I bet that was strange. I'm surprised you guys did not hear gunshots while you were in your class.
Oh, you did. You could hear stuff. You didn't know what they were exactly.
Okay, you just heard cracks like,
Yeah, because it was muffled, but you could hear something in the sirens, and you knew something was going on out there, but not sure what.
I mean, I don't know this question, and it may sound dumb, but I mean, were the classrooms air conditioned in this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
University had enough to air condition.
I mean, I'm just wondering, was there an old window unit,
No, we actually had, and indoor plumbing. We had that.
Well, you would ultimately get your degree, move on to law school, and did you enjoy law school there at the university?
Parts of it, most of it, I was just wanted a law degree. And so I probably could have studied a lot more than I did. But I did enough and graduated without any difficulty, and that was the end of that.
Well, we know Texas, the capital is in Austin, where all the, political happenings occur every 2 years. Did you ever happen to, become involved in any type of politics or work for anybody while you were in college or law school?
Oh, all the time. I worked at the legislature every time they were in session while I was down there. And I worked on some campaigns during that period. I was a writer for the what is the newspaper?
The Daily Texan?
The Daily Texan. I was
that's the UT school newspaper for those that don't know what the Daily Texan is, right?
Right.
Our good buddy Brent Howard was also a writer for the Daily Texan when he was there.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a school newspaper, right?
Oh, it's very good. A lot of famous reporters came out of that class. The group that I was working with went to work for the John Anders, and I mean, there were a lot of them that worked there that went on to the Dallas News, the Houston Post, the Fort Worth, what have you.
All right. So your political, I guess, is this the first time you've ever kind of, witnessed or been a part of politics in Texas when you're down there at the university?
To that extent, I've always been interested in politics. And in fact, I didn't go to my senior prom because the Texas primaries were held on that Saturday night. And I stayed and watched the election returns rather than go to my prom.
Can you think back, was there any race that you were following back there? Because that was late 50s early 60s?
That was 64. So that would have been, I'm trying to remember who that was. It may have been Ralph Yarborough was running. He always had somebody running against him.
That senator from Texas? Was it?
Yes.
Because,
and the governor's race, John Connolly was running for governor at that time. Yeah, there were a lot of interesting races going on.
Well, President Kennedy was assassinated in November of 63.
Right.
And were you at the university at that time as well?
No, I was at Lee.
Because, you get there 63, you get there in 65, right?
Yeah.
Dr. King is assassinated, Malcolm X is assassinated, Robert F. Kennedy is assassinated, all in this period of time where you're, a college law student, right?
Yes, I was, Kennedy 65. I may have still been in college at that time. I think the 65 was when they were all killed.
Yeah, and I didn't know if Robert Kennedy was killed, basically when he was about to accept the nomination in the Ambassador Hotel in California. And I can't remember if that was 68 or whether that was 60.
That would have been 68. That's right. Because he was running for the Democratic. Now, Johnson was president.
And he had said he wasn't going to run.
Right. And Kennedy had just won the California primary. And he had not.
He had not, but he was.
Well, it was looking more and more like it.
Yeah.
And that's when he was killed.
I mean, that seems like a strange decade.
Oh, it's turbulent.
I mean, as far as the Vietnam War protests, the assassinations, the Charles Whitman experience. I mean, you're kind of right in the middle of a, like you said, a very turbulent decade. I mean, how were you processing this, or what were you thinking about as a college person?
That's a good question. It was frustrating and it was debilitating. I mean, here are these great leaders, to my mind, being killed, and I'm thinking, it was a very strange. It upset the balance in my mind about a lot of stuff. And I didn't know what to do about how to deal with it because it was so frustrating because there's nothing I could do.
Right. No.
Except mourn their loss. And it was just so discomforting to me to see these great leaders being killed. And there's nothing that I could do to change the situation at all. It was a very fractured period of time, very fractured.
Was there any suspicion back then, like there kind of is now, where when this kind of stuff happens, people start to think, hey, this might not have just been one guy or one thing or just organic. I mean, did people think that way back in the 60s?
Oh, yeah, Lord, the Kennedy assassination, it's been endless stories.
I know since then, but during that time,
Yes.
were people skeptical, though?
Yes. Yeah, there were books written. There were all kinds of things about the Kennedy assassination during that period of time. And on King, there was not so much of that because they thought they had the guy. Kennedy, there's still, Robert Kennedy, there's still interest in speculation about the nature of that.
Yeah, I mean, because supposedly the gun he was shot with is not the gun that Sirhan had.
There's always, but they did all kinds of demonstrations. Dan Rather had a deal about how Oswald could have done this, and had all tests and all this. Yeah, it was rife. It was
the magic bullet theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the Vietnam War never touched you. Did you ever have to go in the lottery, I mean, were you ever concerned at all about the Vietnam War?
No, not going.
Right.
Because in those days, I did everything I could not to go. I'll be frank about that.
Well, I mean,
but it was legal. George Bush did the same thing, except he finally ran out of options and had, But anyway, when I went into undergraduate, any person enrolled in undergraduate male was not subject to the draft.
You got a deferment.
When I got into law school, they had done away with the college deferment, but they still had the postgraduate deferment, which I was. So I rode that. And then the last year I was in law school is when the lottery system came in. And
was that 1969?
Must have been.
Yeah. And the lottery system, for listeners, that would be like people would be watching their television on Friday nights to see if their number came up.
Well, I certainly did the first time it was done because you were only exposed for 1 year for that lottery. And if your number was high enough, then you weren't going to make the cut. They would have had to have been a world war for that to have happened. So everybody was anxiously, when they first did it, particularly watching the television on the day, and my birthday came up, but it was way down the line. And so there was no chance I was going to go. So I successfully avoided, I won't say dodged, but I did avoid the draft for all that period. But a lot of my friends did not. And several of my friends from Lee got killed over there.
That's an interesting experience. I don't know anybody like that, where you went to school with somebody and they went to a war and got killed, but people probably that not only got killed, but served and then came back.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean.
Yeah. And PTSD. And I had a really good friend in high school who was drafted, and he became a helicopter pilot. And he flew helicopters that went in to the front line and picked up wounded and primarily wounded people to take them back. And he flew through all that Agent Orange and all that stuff and died of it. Years later, suffered and died of it. It was a horrible experience.
The protest. I mean, we see a lot of footage. I mean, the students, the university students seem to be the driving force behind the protests of the Vietnam War, especially the longer it went on. Is that how you remember it?
Yeah, they were the ones most affected. They were the ones going to have to go. Think about it.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. I mean, older people back at the time were talking about foreign policy and communist aggression, but they didn't have a lottery number.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, that was a driver of it. And of course, at some point it became clear that this war had a lot of question marks around it. And so it lost the trust of the people. And it didn't seem like there was any way out, or that they weren't willing to take the ways out. It just persisted. And so more and more people became agitated and took to the streets. That's what happened.
I mean, and we really didn't bail out completely, I think, till 1975.
Nixon.
Yeah.
It was not until, Nixon carried it forward. Actually, what he did, Ford is the one who ended the war. That's when all the people were airlifted out of
Hanoi.
It was Ford that brought them out.
Well, the interesting thing, the old John Trube two-step would be your lottery number. Which birthday were you using?
Well, whichever one had the highest lottery number, I can tell you that.
That's what I'm telling you. Tell the listeners the story about how your birthday is actually August 11th and and September 11th of 1947.
Six.
I mean,
Well, what happened was,
1946. Yeah.
I was actually, I'd always thought my birthday was August the 11th. That was what was enrolled in school, and my mother did anyway. So I thought that's what it was, August the 11th, 1946. So anyway, I would periodically ask, or did ask my mother several times. I noticed my brother had a baby book, but I didn't seem to have one. And I asked her one time, where did I not have it? She said, oh, no, we were so busy and we didn't. So I thought, well, anyway, it came time to move from the house where we had been living on Peach Street to Sneed. And packing up, I was going through a bunch of stuff, and I found this book, and I opened it up. It was a baby book. Turned out it was my baby book. And I was looking at it, and it said on their birthday, September the 11th. So I folded that little book up, went into the kitchen, and I said, what's this all about? And that's when she confessed. Okay, here's the thing. I was 14 or 15 years old when I found that baby book. That's when we were moved over to Sneed. And by that time, you could get your driving license when you were 14. And you had to register for the draft, I think, when you in the 9th grade. But anyway, all of my state records, my school records, my driving license, my bar license, everything to do with the state of Texas is August the 11th. That's my legal birthday for them. Everything to do with the federal government, my draft records, as it turned out, my passport, my Social Security, everything is September the 11th, federal-wise, which is the actual date I was born. And I've tried many times to get the state, the DPS, and to change it. And I've submitted forms, but they just don't do it. So I finally gave up. But going back to the lottery, I was waiting to see which number they were going to pull.
I bet you were.
And I had in my back pocket, I could go either way. And at any rate, the one they pulled was the one that they had that was proper. And so I was not called.
Well, that had to be a relief.
But if it hadn't been, I was going to do it and say, wait a minute here.
Yeah, I'm August 11th. Oh, that's funny, man, that they would never, the government would never really, or the state government would never really want to clean that up.
Never did. I tried several times when my license would be renewed. I tried many times to get it, and I would fill out the forms and turn them in, and I can show you my driving license. It's still got August the 11th on it.
I mean, I wonder, do you ever worry about identity theft or something like that because of those, dual birthdays?
Well, I could always deny it because that's not me.
Yeah, you've got plausible deniability on everything.
Yeah.
You, as you get closer to graduating and taking the bar exam in law school, have you made a decision on whether you're coming back to Tyler or you're going someplace?
I did make that decision. That was a process. I never thought I'd come back to Tyler. I never had any interest in coming back to Tyler. Never had any desire to come back to Tyler. And the longer I was, and then I I was in Austin, of course, for those turbulent years, and big city and. For then, big city. And I worked in Washington for that long summer in law school, big city. And I decided that during that period of time, culminating with law school, with working in Washington, that I did not want to live in a city. The clerk of the house had already set me up with a law firm in Austin. But I didn't, one of his former colleagues in the Congress, and Joe Kilgore, as a matter of fact. Anyway, but I decided I didn't want to live in the city. I decided I definitely wanted to come back to East Texas, not Tyler, but I wanted to come back to East Texas. And so what I did was, in that year, my senior year in law school, I developed a business plan for a young lawyer coming out of law school, setting up a business in East Texas. Where would I go? And at that time, you could get a lot of information. The banks were required to publish their financial statements in the newspapers quarterly. You had all the census figures. You had different types of business. I had a lot of data that I set up a plan, a certain number of population per lawyer in the county. It had to be a county seat. Different criteria that I set out. plus the economy to support it. And I came up with 4 places in East Texas that kind of fit my criteria. One was Longview, one was Lufkin, one was, believe it or not, Mineola. Another one was Cold Spring, which is a little town down around Houston. It's big now, but it wasn't then. Well, nothing really excited me about the figures. They met my criteria, but I wasn't overly impressed. So I decided, just as an afterthought, let me plug this stuff into Tyler and see what happens. And I'm telling you, it blew the top off of my criteria there. And it was true then. It's even more true now. If you're in any business and you want to come to East Texas to make a success, this is the only place to come. It was then, and it is now, even more so. There's no second place. So that's what I did. Came here and talked to some lawyers back then, and been practicing a while, and they encouraged me to come.
Who were some of those lawyers that we might know?
There was Ben Johnson. Weldon Holcomb was one.
Weldon Holcomb, we know him.
Who was the Tom Hathaway? Gosh, it's several of them. But
Who's the guy that read the newspaper driving his car?
Sid Cochran. But yeah, I did not go to see him. He was reading a book one day and ran into Fite's Cleaners. He drove into Frank Fite's dry cleaners reading this book. He read a book everywhere he drove. It's amazing, interesting fellow. Graduate of Rice, incidentally, Anyway,
but when you came here, John, did you have a lawyer friend, a mentor of any kind that you could kind of, go to, talk to?
Not here. The ones I knew, back in those days, I guess you still do. Before you went to law school, part of your application was to get a lawyer to sign something vouching for you. I went to Crockett for that.
To get a man of good character.
J.B. Silas, who I knew as a child growing up. He used to take me to the city council meetings when he was mayor down there. Then when I got into, when you take the bar, you always have to do the same thing. You have to get a lawyer and that's when I met Joe Griffith, Jody Griffith's father, who worked for JB at the time. And so Joe signed my deal to get into law, take the bar. So those are the only ones I really knew. I didn't really know any lawyers here at all. Other than just knowing who they were and then going to visit with them about coming back here.
Do you have any student loan debt, or how did you pay for college back in those days?
My tuition for undergraduate was $125 a semester. My rent was about $105 a month. In law school, I think the tuition was about $225 a semester. And the rent was about the same as it was before.
But you kind of worked and made enough money.
I worked full of time as I could get. I worked for the Texas Employment Commission in the stock room and the mail room. I worked at the legislature when they were in session. After I graduated college and in law school, I taught night school for Austin Public Schools. So I just did a lot of different stuff to fill in the blank financially. But I got a student loan. They didn't have student loans when I first started. That only came in the last year or so when I was in undergraduate. And so the student loan, and for undergraduate, you could borrow, I think it was like $450 or something a semester. In law school, it was a little more than that, maybe $600. So when I got out of law school, my debt, couldn't get a loan for the first. So it was about, I'm trying to think. It may have been $2,500. And they gave you the rest of your life to pay it back if you wanted to. And it was a Texas loan program. It wasn't a federal. It was Texas. And Preston Smith was the governor who had it enacted. He's from Lubbock. So after all the years, once I got making money, I went ahead and paid it off. But it wasn't onerous, is my point. And interestingly enough, when I paid it off, I got a letter from Preston Smith congratulating me on paying off the student loan.
Was he still the governor?
No, but
I mean, but it must have been a form letter that the government generated
I don't know. But
to
maybe
say,
it's
"Hey,
something
thanks for paying it off."
It may have been something he did, but has his signature. Who knows? But anyway, I thought that was interesting. But no, that was the debt I had, and it was helpful because at that time, that $450, whatever it was, $25 in undergrad, paid my tuition and my books, and 1 or 2 months of my rent. And
Took care of most of the semester, except right, except for.
And then what the jobs I had paid the rest.
What are the mechanics of coming back to town? Once you decide to come to Tyler, like where are you going to live? Where are you going to office? I mean, how do you figure those things out?
Well, I'd planned to open an office here. That's why I was talking to these lawyers. My mother had moved to Dallas to work at a bank up there, but she still had this house here. So I was going to stay there, which I did. And as far as and as I talked to these lawyers, they said, well, here's what you could do. And they told me the cost savings and all that. But they said, what you ought to do is to get a job in the DA's office, because you'll meet everybody you need to meet. You'll meet all the lawyers, you'll meet the clerks, you'll meet the judges, you'll try cases, you'll get experience, unlike any other place you can get for that experience. And every one of them said that. Every one of the lawyers I said that. Get you a job. So I went to. There'd just been an election. Curtis Owen had been elected district attorney.
Curtis Owen. I love Curtis Owen. He was my next door neighbor growing up until he moved.
Yeah, he's the godfather to one of my children. Anyway.
Really? He's the godfather. I can't believe that. I mean, that's our buddy Spinio, his son,
Yeah, Spencer.
Yeah.
Anyway, he had just was elected. He had beaten Buck Files for district attorney, not by a lot, but he beat him. And so I went to see him. I'd never met him, and I did know Glenn Phillips because he was a next door neighbor of us over here on Sneed, but I didn't know him well. Anyway, I went to see Curtis and told him, and he said, okay. We talked, and I don't know if he hired me on the spot or if he talked about it and then hired me. But anyway, he hired me to start January 1st of 1971.
Were there any, assistant district attorneys already there that carried over, or did Curtis hire all new people?
He carried over. There was Pete Menifee, Charles. His father, Charles Crow, and I think there may have been one other. But he brought in Tom Tatum, both of them became partners with me later.
Right. I remember Tatum and Owen were partners.
Right. And so Tom was brought in from Weatherford or somewhere. And then the misdemeanor, those were the felony, Menifee, Crow, and Tatum. And they only had 2 district courts at that time, only had 1 county court at law. And I was the misdemeanor prosecutor, and Jack Skeen was a misdemeanor prosecutor. Jack and I grew up together. I've known him all my life, in all his life, since Hogg School. So we were the misdemeanor prosecutor.
Just the 2 of you?
It's just the 2. Milton Mell was the county court at law judge. Anyway, after about 6 months or so.
Who were the 2 district judges at the time?
Bob Power and Galloway Calhoun.
All right.
And Conley McKay had just been put up to the Court of Appeals. And anyway, that's another story. I get distracted. But and then after about 8 months or so, somewhere less than a year, Jack took a job as assistant city attorney over at the city of Tyler. Then he became city attorney, then he became city judge and so forth. And then I was the only misdemeanor prosecutor for the rest of the time I was there.
I mean, what kind of misdemeanors back in the early 70s are you catching these cases that you're having to try or deal with?
Oh, the same as they are now. You had assault cases, you had DWIs. In fact, the first case I tried was a criminal negligent homicide, which then was a misdemeanor.
Was that with a car?
It was a gasoline truck. Ran a railroad crossing out here on the northeast part of town, and a train hit it, exploded, huge fire, and 1 or 2, both of the engineers were killed, and everybody in that railroad cab was either killed or seriously burned. The driver of the damn truck scot-free.
He
Just
didn't get hurt.
got out of the truck and walked away. But the tank was exploded. Anyway, I tried that case. That was a difficult case, very hard case. But I got, and it was frustrating because this guy had run the thing. Anyway, it's horrible.
But people were more of the mindset of, hey, that was just an accident.
That's what happened. I tried the case and won. They found him guilty.
And they flipped it on appeal.
No, got probation. And I was most distressed about that. I didn't see any way in the world they couldn't send this guy to at least 30 days in jail, something. Probation, but they did. And the Judge Males said, listen, you're going to find that you're not going to agree with every jury that comes down the pipe, but that's their job. That's not yours. You have to remember that they talked about this, and for whatever reason, they decided this was a fair and just verdict, and you're just going to have to accept it. And this one and every other one that comes down like it. That's just the way it is. And I never forgot that because it's true.
Well, you to me, knowing you like I know you, I just don't see you with the prosecutor's mindset.
You did not see me during that trial. I was taking it very seriously.
Well, I'm saying like you're like me. I mean, in some sense, like, I'm not the guy who's trying to go for the kill when it's somebody being incarcerated for a long time. I mean, I just never, that was never what I was interested in. And it didn't seem like it's ever really what you liked. But when you're in it, I guess you try to do a good job.
Well, I had gotten to know the families of the people who had been killed.
You personalized it.
I did. And that's probably something you shouldn't do as a lawyer. But it happened, and I felt deeply for them. I was really empathetic with them because I know the suffering. And the people who are still alive had these scars, and it was just horrible. This guy had a prior DWI.
But he wasn't drunk, and that wasn't admissible, John.
Wasn't drunk, wasn't admissible.
There's the old prosecutor just trying to push the envelope to get a conviction.
I knew it.
Yeah, you knew it. All right. How long do you spend in the DA's office?
Year and a half.
Okay, that's not long.
I was told that by a very wise person, said you stay in the DA's office until you've heard every story that could be told 3 times. Then you leave. And that happened. And so I'd heard everything. I'd gotten everything that I wanted out of the DA's office. I wasn't going to make any money there. When I started out, I made $625 a month. And when I left a year and a half later, I was all the way up to $750.
What year is this when you're at the tail end of your DA career?
72.
All right. You, just like my dad, he worked in the DA's office, but when he got out, he might have done some, but he wasn't eventually married to criminal law. Did you think, hey, I'm going to do criminal defense, or did you think I'm going to try to do something else?
In those days, there wasn't enough population to support a specialist type lawyer. Weldon was the only one. Then Jerry, but I did not. I knew that was not going to be sufficient to support me. And back then, as a lawyer, you took whatever came in the door. Tyler was not that big, so you just took whatever came in. And I did start out, and a couple of bondsmen I'd made friends with sent me criminal cases from time to time. But my main source of income during that initial period, I had a friend growing Dean Bailey, whose father was Sam Bailey, who was a well-known realtor here, very successful realtor. And Mr. Bailey began sending me real estate business, deeds and stuff to type, contracts, title policies, all this kind of stuff. And so most of my business at that time was actually real estate. And I took divorces. I wrote wills. I did contracts. I did criminal law. I did anything and everything. I took anything. I sued people, represented people who got sued. I did it all. Workman's comp, personal injury stuff. I did everything. I represented at one point a guy who bought and sold radio stations all over the country. And I traveled with him all over the place, buying and selling, doing the paperwork for buying and selling radio stations. It was just anything and everything. It
was easier back then to do, more things than it is now, right? Everything's much more specialized, and there's more rules, and, it's just harder to do that now.
It is. In fact, I couldn't do it now. I don't think anybody could really have a general practice the way I have had. I still do have a general practice. but I don't think it's possible anymore to do that. It may be in a small town, but not in a town like Tyler.
Okay, so you say you got out of the DA's office what year?
70, summer of 72.
All right, so you're into private practice early 70s.
Yeah.
So you missed the whole, I guess Hunter Brush must come back as
Hunter 2, as we call it.
Hunter 2.0, because Hunter 2.0 is in the middle of the Smith County Justice story, right?
Right.
And you're gone from there. You don't really have to deal with that. But I'm sure you're in the community, and when they arrest 100 people plus, right? I mean,
Yep.
do you end up with any of these clients?
One. Buck got most of it. But the interesting thing was, and this was the making of Buck. He may deny it, I don't know, but I know it's true. When all that went down, Weldon was on a trip in Europe, and Buck was the only known criminal lawyer here.
When everybody needed a lawyer.
And Buck was here. And that's how Buck got almost, Weldon didn't get any case of that, except the one that he was associated with by that lawyer from West Texas, Warren, I think. Was that his name? It'll come to me.
But I mean, yeah.
Very famous lawyer in West Texas, criminal lawyer, got a case, and he associated Weldon with that case.
I mean, the bust that made Buck files.
That's it.
Right? Because you had said it, Weldon Holcomb was the only lawyer that, I mean, he was the most well-known criminal lawyer, and I'd often wondered why I never saw his name associated with any of the defendants.
He was AWOL.
I mean, that's a trip. I mean, that cost him, didn't it?
It did. It did. And he still got a lot of criminal work, I don't say that, but it was never quite the same after that, as far as the type of cases that he got.
Did you ever talk to Weldon about that?
No, I didn't talk to Weldon.
He never lamented like, John,
No.
Now, Buck, I knew you to be pretty close friends with Buck.
Very close friends with Buck.
And I'm sure, like you said, he doesn't want to admit it, but that was, historically he had 80 cases all of a sudden, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and in Tyler back then, that'd be a haul.
And most of these people, had a lot of money.
Right, because these were wealthier people and wealthier people's kids who were caught up in the dragnet, so to speak, right?
Right. He was Buck was practicing law then with Mike Rowan and Harry Loftus. They had an office over in the old Citizens Bank building at that time.
Yeah, those names are old. I mean, Harry Loftus's name, when I first got to town as a lawyer, I saw it somehow associated with Randy Roberts and Robertson Roberts.
He became associated with them years and years later.
I never knew him, but...
yeah, he was county judge. I think he was maybe district attorney for a while. He was well-known back then, very well-known guy.
So you get back here, and you get out of the DA's office. I mean, where's the first place that you hung a shingle, and it was, the law office of John Trube?
Well, became friends with a lawyer called Harry Hagler while I was in the DA's office. And Harry primarily was interested in buying and selling and trading and so forth. He did some law, but he had an office over here on South Broadway, 4000 South Broadway. And
where is that? Tell us where that would be so we'll know.
It's next to where the Wagner Cadillac used to be.
It's across from Sprouts.
Kind of, yes,
right.
Yes. And that building is still there.
Is this where you push the envelope of advertising rules?
Yeah. And Harry had this office, and I'd gotten to know him. He was a very likable fellow. And finally he said, well, why don't you've been up here long enough, why don't you just come out and take an office in my place and see what happens? And anyway, that's how I got there. And then I had people bringing me business and so forth. Then Harry left. We never were partners. We just shared space. And then he left. But I took over his space after he left. Mr. Needham owned it, Mr. Ernest Needham. And at some point, Broadway was 4-lane highway, nowhere near the traffic it has now, but a lot of traffic.
Right. I mean, that's a good location.
Good location, particularly then. And so I was trying to figure out what kind of signs should I put on the building. And I decided, well, I'd like for him to read it.
I mean, the bigger, the better.
Yeah. And so I had a sign that letters were about yay big, and it said John Trube, attorney. And it was bigger than what the local bar decided that it should be. Of course, back then there was no advertising whatsoever.
Right. I mean, you couldn't do what I
You would be disbarred.
I mean, you couldn't go, don't get hurt twice.
I have a great John Hardy story about that, but you could and would get disciplined and maybe disbarred if there was any part of advertising going on. In fact, you couldn't get a raised black letter in the phone book. You only could have what the phone company gave you.
Regular small type.
Right. That was it. And so they thought I had violated this canon or rule or whatever. And so I was approached about it. And I said, well, I don't understand. And I pointed out several things that were comparable. What have you done with that? What's going on? No, I'm not going to do it. It's whatever you think you need to do, but I don't see any reason to take it down or change it. So I didn't. That never did bother me. And not too long after that was when Brian Lonkar got famous because they were after him for the same thing, putting his name on the side of a building or something in Dallas. And he sued him and won. And that was the end of all of that. So fortunately, I was kind of right there in that.
You benefited from the Supreme Court decision?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
so
it's interesting. Who would approach you? That's funny. I wonder, like today, the camaraderie amongst lawyers is probably not as it was back then.
Oh, it was, I can't remember exactly who the emissary was, but anyway, I remember that it happened and I had a conversation and I said, well, if you can get something, show me some reason to do it legal. But they, of course, never did. But I don't remember who it was. I also invited a guy who, for Law Day one time, to speak, who had been a congressman that who had gotten me the job in Washington when for the clerk of the House, John Dowdy.
Who did you work for when you did that summer in Washington?
I worked for the clerk of the House.
Okay, you were more of a rural parliamentarian type.
Well, the clerk of the House runs the House. He's the administrative officer of the House, responsible for all the vote calculating and administration of the offices and supplies, and he runs the House. Okay. He's the administrative officer.
Not really for a particular representative.
No, although I got my job through John Dowdy, who was congressman.
But certainly you leaned Democrat back then, wouldn't you say?
I would say so, yeah.
I mean,
more than, yeah.
I mean, like most of your life that I've known you, you've been, you've identified as a Democrat.
That's true.
And was that what it was like in Tyler when you got back to town? I mean, was Smith County Democratic, Republican? What was it like back then?
Well, it was Democrat. Everybody was voted Democrat.
I mean, you're saying the party left you.
I don't know what happened. But they would vote. People here would very often vote statewide for Republican, but locally everybody was a Democrat. Everybody ran for office as a Democrat, elected as Democrat. And so that's just the way it was. In fact, see if you can guess this. Who was the last Democratic candidate for president that carried Smith County?
The last Democratic president.
Candidate for not elected necessarily, but who was the last nominee of the Democratic Party who carried Smith County?
Dolph Briscoe?
No, president. Interesting, isn't it?
Democrat, right?
Democrat.
The last Democrat that carried Smith County. How about Goldwater?
Goldwater's Republican.
Oh, yeah.
Most people would say Lyndon Johnson. Not true. Harry Truman.
Harry Truman. Wow.
1948. So the last candidate of the Democratic Party for president who carried this county.
Even up to this day.
Yeah.
All right.
And so the point is, the politics here, they identified as Democrats, but was not the prevailing philosophy.
There wasn't really a lot of difference between Republicans and Democrats locally back when you first got here. Is that what you're saying?
No, there was no Republican elected to office in Smith County.
Okay, so they didn't have any control.
None.
And so everybody just naturally was a Democrat back then until J.B. Smith broke the mold?
Well, he was one of the first. Bill Coates actually was elected DA but that was a fluke. But he ran as a Republican. But he was the only one until J.B.
J.B. Smith, ran for sheriff as a Republican, and that was the first time someone had done something like that in a long time,
Yeah.
forever.
No, but like I say, Bill Coates had been elected.
But that was a fluke.
Yeah, but he was elected as a Republican.
All right, so you come back and you get some interest in city government at some point, don't you?
Well, yeah, I did. And so I can't remember who. Oh, Charlie Jordan, a friend of mine. You may have heard of. Anyway, he was on the council, and I had helped him in his when he ran and was first elected. I worked on his campaign, and then he decided that I should be on the city council thereafter, and so he showed me some information that I was able to use, and I won and beat Baker Lucas, who was the mayor at the time.
I mean, that's interesting that you beat Baker Lucas.
I did.
One would think that his name identification, his, status, Tylerite, would easily beat a guy like you, right?
What I found out was that the name ID is a double-edged sword. There are a lot of people that knew him, and there were a lot of people who did not like him.
Okay, so you tapped into kind of a stream of I guess discontent with him.
Yes,
because he had been the mayor. He'd probably had an agenda, had policies. People did or did not like him, and you saw an opening and you went for it.
I did.
So, but this is council, not mayor. Is he not running for mayor? And he goes back.
No. There was no elected mayor at the time. There was a 5-member council. Everyone was a city councilman.
That's it. There was no mayor.
The mayor was selected by the 5 to be a presiding officer as mayor, and he became he was the title and the duties and the ribbon cuttings and all that, the mayor, but he was not elected as a mayor. He was simply a member of the council who the council appointed as mayor to conduct these activities.
Did the council, when you ran back then, did they have certain segments of the city, or did you?
No, it was all at large.
Okay, that's what I understood. It was all at large. So,
in fact, I'm the one who drew the individual precincts that we have now. I was on the council and was delegated by the other members to draw those lines.
Why did that come about, John?
Tyler was sued like every other place that had open voting,
because there would be people that were unrepresented.
Well, there were no blacks or women on the council.
Right,
never had been.
And what I'm saying, if you didn't have any lines that define neighborhoods, right? I mean, then all 5 people could come from maybe the South or around Azalea.
And guess what? They did. There were no single men.
That's not a shocker, right?
No. And cities and counties all over the country got sued for this successfully, I might add, school districts, whatever.
Yeah. And
Bill Steger was a federal judge who had this federal case that was filed by a group out of Dallas, a couple of state representatives and black legislators in Dallas and some local, Ernest Deckard here and several others.
NAACP.
Larry Daves represented some of them. He was the lead lawyer on that plaintiffs group. You may not remember Larry Daves.
Did you get help from outside in drawing the lines?
The city council hired some guy from Nacogdoches, Stephen F. Austin, who did all this stuff and put some figures together and so forth. But what happened was all the council and all the plaintiffs in the lawsuit drove down to Beaumont dark and early one morning to have a conference with Judge Steger. He was actually in Beaumont, although he held court at Tyler, but the open seat he took was in Beaumont.
He eventually transferred.
And so anyway, we met down there, and he brought everybody in except the plaintiffs into his office. That would be the 5 councilmen and the city manager, and said, "Okay, boys, here's the thing. They're going to win this suit. You understand that? There's not a thing I can do about it. I just want you to know."
He was sympathetic, but he said, "Look, I can't help you."
He said, "There's not a thing I can do about it. It's going to happen. And the best thing you can do is resolve this and get it behind you." So the next week, I got called. We met, and he said, "You know these people." I did know Larry Daves, and I knew all the plaintiffs from various things.
I mean, you were active in the Democratic Party at this point,
Yeah.
right? And so you would know, Ernest Deckard, from the NAACP, and he was at the union at Goodyear, I think, or Train. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they knew that. And they said, here's the thing. You meet with them. You draw the lines.
Because if y'all agree, then the lawsuit's going to get settled.
It'll go away.
It'll go away.
And so that's what I did. I met with the plaintiffs and their lawyer, and I drew the lines. And there was not much variation from what they wanted. So that's what happened.
Are they still in effect today?
Mostly. There's more council members now. There's 7 now, I think.
Let's see, is it 6 plus the mayor? I think it's 6 plus the mayor.
6 plus the mayor. And so there's more people. So they've had to adjust them for population. But
Right.
basically they're still the same.
And how long were you on city council?
2 year, 1 term.
I see it. You didn't run again?
I had enough.
That experience, is it tough? I mean, as far as the criticism, the public, does that stuff really, bother you, get to you?
It does. And I say I had enough. I was retired from the council. A guy ran against me and beat me.
Okay, well,
Bill Ross.
that was an involuntary retirement.
It was kind of. I mean, I would have obviously ran. I'd like to have stayed, but I wasn't. I'd gotten everything I needed.
I mean, but you were associated kind of with the real Democratic Party after the lawsuit and after drawing the lines.
Well, I think drawing the lines was the main thing.
People thought of you as kind of like someone who had, integrated the schools or forced busing back then. I mean, that was kind of one of those issues that was coming along, right, in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, and there was only, I think of the 5 of us, there was only 1 city councilman who stayed on the council.
Tyler cleaned house.
Bob Montgomery was the only one. But Jack Halbert left, Bob Layton, myself, and Charlie Jordan. The only one left after all of that was Bob Montgomery.
And did you ever, go back into city, county politics ever again?
Well, I ran for county judge. And when did I run for county judge? It must have been in 84, maybe. I can't remember exactly. It's been so long.
Who was your opponent?
Bob Hayes was the county judge, and he had been city manager and water guy over at City of Tyler. And
Was he a lawyer?
No.
But you don't have to be a lawyer to be county judge, do you?
Correct.
Because we remember Larry Craig was the last,
Neil Franklin now is.
Neil Franklin, that's right.
He's not a lawyer. But anyway, I ran against Bob Hayes, and Bob had not quite at that time done enough to get kicked out. He was getting close, but he just wasn't there. He did 4 years later. That's when Larry Craig won. People had had enough of Bob by that point. I thought they had it when I ran.
You thought he was weak, and that's why you ran?
But he wasn't quite.
What were issues? How could you be weak politically, back in the early 80s?
He had no vision for the county. All he wanted to do was cut budgets and not spend money and reduce taxes. He had no vision.
Because the county really had not much revenue source at all, did they?
Well, they had the property tax. That was pretty much it. And he just had he was a placeholder. And I had thought people were kind of tired of that at that point, but they, not quite, but they were. It didn't take them much longer after that to get tired.
But Larry, Larry had a broad following. People knew him from the pharmacy.
Yeah.
And they knew him from the
Masons and
the Shriners, right? And all that. That was big back then. You never got into that, did you?
Did not.
I mean, usually people that came to town or, your dad or some relative, it seemed like everybody was a Mason,
I was approached, but I had no interest in it.
You don't want to be killed for violating the oath.
I just never was a member of anything like that, fraternities, or it held no interest for me.
I mean, you didn't want to meet up at the lodge, and
I'd seen too much Amos and Andy to be going around any lodge halls.
you weren't in a fraternity at all in college or anything.
No.
I mean, do you think you
I was
had
an academic fraternity?
right? But I mean, do you think you kind of you carried a streak in you that was kind of not really antisocial, but anti, the group, if you will.
Well, here's the thing. One of the things that eventually attracted me as a lawyer was the fact that I could work for myself. I wouldn't have.
You didn't need somebody else.
I wouldn't be beholden to anybody. The last thing I knew, guys in law school, all they wanted to do was make the best grades they could possibly make and go to work for some big firm in Austin or Dallas or Houston. No interest in that whatsoever. I did not ever want to work for anybody. I didn't want to have any job. I hadn't had a job since 1972 when I left the DA's office. That's the last job I ever
Where
had.
you were not the boss.
That's right. I've had work, but I've never worked for anybody since that time. And that was my whole desire. The thing that fascinates me is the freedom that a law degree can give a person. That you can start your own business. You could develop your own practice. That's what was a thing that really was important to me, was that I wouldn't be beholden or answering to anybody except myself and maybe some judge somewhere. And that's it. And that was what I did.
But the hustle, John, some lawyers do it differently. The hustle can take place by being a member of the biggest church, by being a member of the Masons, right? By being a member of a country club. Where were you thinking, hey, was it unions, Democratic Party? Is that your client base in your mind instead of some of the other things I just mentioned?
Well, like I say, it started with in the criminal area. Some bondsmen sent me cases.
Right. I mean, that's the best place to go. I mean, we know,
and then
the bail bondsman's the best.
The real estate work, and people just started coming in to see me from referrals or people I'd represented before.
Was the law a cash business primarily back then?
For me, it still is.
Yeah, I know. I was like, John, why do you have all that money? Every time I see you, you never offer to pay for anything when we're together, but you always have a lot of money.
I still to this day do not take credit cards. All I take is cash or check.
And at least you have a computer now.
There is a computer in my office.
And your phone.
Which I do not use, but my secretaries do.
That's right. And your phone, it's not
I have a rotary dial phone still.
I mean, that's irritating to have to.
Not to me.
Have to work through all the numbers.
No, it's fine. I prefer it. I don't carry a cell phone. My wife had a cell phone, and she died. And so, the cell phone I have is still in her name, and it's at the office because there's sometimes you could dial a number and it would get a recording, but eventually a human would come on the line if you just waited it out. That's not true anymore. So there's some phones I can't get through to with a rotary dial. So I use her cell phone to do that. And if I travel on the road, I'll take it with me. Other than that, I don't use it. I don't have it here. I will never have it. You won't see me with a cell phone ever.
I guess you still keep that phone and you still charge that phone. And I mean,
I do.
I mean, that's kind of I guess it's a memory. I don't know. Is it hard for you to keep that phone as opposed to, getting another phone that's just...
It was just there. I don't want to have to get another phone. It works.
I mean, you're tight. I know you are. I mean, like, you're not going to... But you mentioned your wife, Robin. I mean, many people knew her as well.
Yes, they did. Lots of people knew.
She... I would call her the extrovert in the relationship, wouldn't you?
I would say so, at least in a crowd. She loved her privacy and she loved to be at home. She never would go out unless I took her out.
Yeah.
But when she was out, she was out.
Yeah. And her birthday, it was unique. Y'all were a unique couple. You had two tragic days as your birthdays, didn't you?
Correct. Mine's 9/11. Hers was December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, of course, Rebecca and I were good friends with you guys. And You lost her at the worst possible time, if there is a worse time to lose her, didn't you?
Well, like you say, no time would have been good.
Right, but
After she died the following year, early, she died December 6th of 19. Golly, she's been dead. This will be 7 years.
I know it's hard to believe. I can remember when you came to my office.
Oh, I still get emotional. Anyway, COVID came.
Yep.
Next year.
I mean,
early on.
They did the first shutdown in March of 2020.
And it was bad enough losing her, you're right. But to lose her and be in this isolated state that we were all in, it was difficult. It was difficult. And I frankly, we were very close. We were as close as you could be. And that's tough.
Yeah, I know it is.
She was absolutely my best friend and confidant, certainly. But it took help of friends like you, Rebecca, and other friends and groups that I'm members of and so forth that I was able to do it. And but it was one day at a time. Let me tell you, it was every day. Every day I'd wake up and I'd look in that mirror and say, I'm going to be okay today. I'm going to be okay today. I don't know about tomorrow, but today I got this to do. I'm going to do that. And then I'll do this. And that's how I did it for months and months and months until finally it began to get a little better.
The law practice is good in the sense that you can stay as busy as you want to stay almost.
And we weren't shut down. So we could go to the office and that kind of thing. So I wasn't completely at home all the time. I was out and about. Plus, I had everybody helping me, supporting me if I needed it. It's there.
Robin was younger than you.
10 years.
Just like Rebecca's younger than me.
Right.
You kind of think, well, I'm probably going to be the guy who dies.
I know.
I mean, I think that. I think, well, surely, I'm going to die before she does. You never think, right, that.
Yeah, well, I can tell you could be wrong.
I mean,
I talked about that with her when she was dying in the hospital. I told her one day, I was sitting there by her and I said, I can't believe this is happening. I cannot believe this is happening. And she looked at me and she said, look, we've talked about this many times. You and I both knew one of us was going to go first. And I'll tell you right now, I was determined it was not going to be you because you're going to be able to handle this. You've got friends, you've got groups to deal with. You're going to be okay. She said, I could not do it. I know I could not do it if you died first. It would be impossible for me. So she knew exactly what she was doing and what she wanted. And she was just an amazing person.
She was a free spirit, fun to be with. And we had a lot of memories. I mean, you guys were at our rehearsal dinner.
Yep.
You mentioned groups, and, you're, some of the groups that you involved yourself with have to do with, addiction and family member addiction type things. And I know you well, and you talk about how much that means to you.
Yeah.
But people that don't know you, you yourself are not an addict, didn't have a problem. How did you associate yourself with any of these groups in the first place?
Well, both my parents were alcoholics from the time I was born. And my father, neither one of them really ever got into recovery or quit drinking.
They just managed it?
Well, I don't know if you could call it that or not. But anyway, that's the home I was raised in. There was a lot of yelling and screaming and drunken behavior and, just not good stuff. And so I didn't realize how that had impacted me. Robin knew it. She understood something was wrong with me, but couldn't figure out what it was. And then she she kept working on it, and she didn't leave me, but she knew that something was wrong and wanted to try to find something that, anyway, she came upon this, and on the computer, she found this group called Adult Children of Alcoholics. And she printed it off and showed it to me, and the information, and asked me to read it. That's all she said. I'd like for you to read this if you would. And I did, and I identified with it, with the behavioral traits of children who were raised in alcoholic homes.
It like rang true with how you thought you were.
Absolutely. This was 10 and a half years ago. And I knew when I read it, here it is. This is it. And I was open to it, and found out there was a group here in Tyler, the only one between Dallas and Shreveport, just here in Tyler. And it was meeting the following Tuesday. I was there the following Tuesday and met with them and found out these people had my story, and I'd never been in a room like that. And I've been going there every Tuesday, except for, I think maybe I've missed 15 meetings maybe in the past 10 and a half years. And I just identified with it, and it changed my life. It completely changed my life.
I mean, did it bring you more peace?
Yes.
Did it bring you more understanding of the limitations of people that raised you that were alcoholics, and forgiveness? I mean, what?
That was the difficult peace, yes. I found people who identified with me and I with them. We shared stories. We had a similar experience. This was helpful. I read the literature. I worked the steps. There's 12 steps, just like AA or Al-Anon. And I did those. I came to a great understanding. But one of my greatest struggles was trying to find a way to peace with my parents.
Right, the forgiveness part.
I knew, because, Jesus never said anything about forgetting, but he did talk about forgiveness. So it took me a long time to find a way to that. But I knew at some point that I had to do it because I had heard too much truth spoken to me during these meetings. I wasn't going to walk away from the meeting. I was determined to find a way to find resolution. And so after, I'd say, a year of study and work, maybe more, and it was going to, what primarily got me there was going to an open AA Al-Anon group meeting that I started going to as well. And listening to these alcoholics talk about their story and their family, and it dawned on me that these people were sick. They were sick people.
They had a disease.
They had a disease, and that's who they were. They weren't intending to be mean to me or mistreat me.
That's what I was.
That's
wondering.
who they were.
You heard people say that it hurt their kids. That was not their intention. It was just they couldn't help it.
Exactly. And it when I figured that out and was able just to accept them for who they were, that's what got me the peace that I was seeking. And I can't tell you the relief that came to me is just all of that anger and resentment, and it just went away.
Because you kept it on the inside. I've never seen you raise your voice in almost 30 years.
Yeah. No, I internalized it. I'm one of those who did. Some don't, but I did. I'm not uncommon. I mean, there are others, but I did. I'm one of those. And so all of that was gone. And the relief and the serenity and peace that that resulted from that experience of finding a resolution with them, even though they're long dead, I was able to do it, brought me the greatest peace I've ever had in my life. I have no anger about not only not toward them, I don't have anger toward anybody. It's just all gone.
You think, you hadn't learned these things when you raised your kids, but do you think you parented differently when you raised your kids because of how you were raised?
Well, I've made my amends to them because I know that a lot of what I carried forward resulted from that, and not all of it was good. I know that is the case, and so once I recognized that, but the point is, how was I equipped to raise kids? Who were my role models? Right? What?
Well, I mean, you had to learn on the job, like most parents.
Well, not all parents. No, some parents are normal. I presume. I mean, I didn't experience that, but but those were my role models, and I learned very early on that I could not trust these people. They weren't dependable. They weren't reliable. They wouldn't always do what they said they were going to do. So I learned a lot of bad stuff, and that was a lot of it was probably communicated. And so when I got into the program, and after I'd been in for a while and had worked the steps, I went to my children and made amends to them. We've got great relationships now. I mean, I think we'd had decent before, but now we have great relationships.
I mean, people talk about living in life and making progress while you're on the earth. It seems like you've made, at least in your mind, an awful lot of progress on the things in this life that were giving you the most trouble.
I have. And I feel great peace. I really do. And my point nowadays, that's one of the reasons I keep going to these meetings. I go to Adult Children of Alcoholics on Tuesday. I go to Al-Anon on Monday night, and I go to open AA Al-Anon meetings on Sunday. And my effort is to share my story in order to keep me sane. That's primarily.
I mean, do you share when you go to these meetings?
Oh, sure.
Every time?
Every time.
Okay. I mean, I've seen this on TV where and there's a new guy who's there and he goes, Jim, would you like to share? And it's like, it always seems like it's just the new guy.
Yeah.
And not.
Actually, you don't want to necessarily, particularly in AA, you don't particularly want to pick on a new person because they're there.
They're just observing.
They don't know what's going on,
right.
and that you want them to hear people who have had longer experience share their story, that they were where this guy was.
That kind of creates a comfort zone to step forward.
It gives them a feeling of, well, they do kind of understand me, and that's the great strength, and that's what I focus on now, is to try to help. That's the 12th step,
right? To
practice these principles and carry the message forward, and that's most of what I do now.
The meetings, where do these meetings take place? Because I really don't ever see any advertisement or.
You won't.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know where they are.
You have to reach out to find them. But there's a lot of Al-Anon meetings all over different churches and various places. My particular ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics, meets over at the Episcopal Church over here in the Green Acres.
But I mean, you've described three categories of people that have been affected by addiction, right? Mm-hmm. Adult children of alcoholics themselves, right? And then there's another group you identified. Who was that?
Al-Anon.
And which would be?
Those are the people who are normally used to be a spouse of an alcoholic who was an active alcoholic, and they're trying to find, they're getting recovery for their situation. Now a lot of Al-Anons, I think most, come in because of their kids, that they have a child who's addicted to something and they don't understand. And they come to Al-Anon trying to find what to do.
Other people who've dealt with it, the roller coaster that it is to have.
Right. And it can be very beneficial because you learn a lot of stuff. The first thing you learn is that you can't do a thing about that person. You can fix yourself in your situation, but that's what Al-Anon does. Is just teach a person who has a spouse or a child or a relative, close relative who's a friend who's an alcoholic or addict or practicing, and it shows them how to either live with that person successfully or to leave that person successfully, if that's the way it has to be. But there's a way of life that an Al-Anon learns about in order to cope with their problem. You can't fix the other person, but you can fix whatever is hurting you.
If anybody's struggling that hears this with one of these relationships or themselves. I mean, when you said that you can reach out, how would they reach out to find,
Call me.
groups like you? Call John to the office of John Trube.
I can put them in touch with whoever they need to talk to.
You can find that phone number easy. He'll be your personal mentor, and I know he.
Don't say that.
Well,
I'd be glad to share the information on how to get to where they want to go.
John's now sponsoring 1,000 people from the city of Tyler. But in any event, like I said, somebody may be listening to this and they want to take a next step or do something different. And, they may hear this and think this is what they need to do.
Well, I can tell you for myself, it changed my life, and it has given me complete peace and serenity in my life that I've never had before. And I see other people and talk to other people every week. It's had the same effect. It does work. In many cases, if you're open to it and willing to, and are serious about it, it can change your life.
The one thing I remember about you when Robin died and they finally had that memorial at Rick's was I hadn't spoke at my dad's funeral, and I thought there's no way I could do that. You remember that?
Yeah.
I was like, golly, anybody close to me dies, I'm not sure I can get up there. And, but I mean, I think if you kind of use laughter and good things, it makes it easier. But I mean, you spoke right through it.
Well, my first reaction was that I wasn't going to do it.
That's what I said.
Exactly what you're talking about. But the more I thought about it, no one knew her better than me.
Yeah.
No one.
No one.
And I'm the only one who could have told her story. And so that's when I decided, well, I'm just going to have to do it somehow or another. Ray Robinson brought me a martini when I started, and but I just had to do it. And again, having an active theater background, I knew when I walked up there, I could feel there were maybe 400 or 500 people there.
Yeah, there was a lot of people,
and I could sense their support.
Sympathy makes us cry, though, doesn't it? I mean, when you feel like somebody feels sorry for you, doesn't that hit you harder than anything else?
Yeah.
It hits me. I just assume people,
I know. But I could feel the support coming back. I could sense it. I knew it was there. And when I first started, I was stumbling a little bit, and people would say, "It's okay. We love you. It's all right." I heard it all around. And I thought, wow. So I knew I had them.
That was a motley crew in there.
It was a mixed group because Robin and I had a very eclectic.
I mean, there were hippies, there were tree huggers, there were politicians. I mean, there was a whole cast of characters there.
There was,
right?
That was who that's who we dealt with. We associated with every group of people in society, everyone, and they were all there.
You've had a great career legally. You've kind of. You've pieced together a real quilt of.
That's true.
You put together a quilt of some niches in the law, right? I mean, a lot of people know you for the traffic tickets.
Yeah,
and you've been doing that. I mean, how many years?
Oh God, this is something that's fascinating. I was told one time when I first started out, because nobody specialized, and you think you want to go over this, do this, and maybe, but old-time lawyer said, "You're going to go. The public will tell you and lead you where you're going to go. It's whoever the most people walk in the door. That's what's going to happen. Don't worry about trying to force the issue, which you can do now
because you keep doing more of it, and then people tell other people that you're doing it."
And what happened on that was I had a couple of friends in college who stayed in college for a while. There were some of those perpetual college people back then, and they would go from college to college. They'd get out of one college, go to another for whatever reason, and they were always in fraternities. They were always fraternity people. And so one time, one of them got, and then others made an announcement to their fraternity that, if you guys ever get a ticket, here's the guy to send it to. And that's how it started. And all of a sudden I started getting.
Was that in Tyler?
No, it was all over the state, wherever college they were in.
Oh.
And so I started getting these tickets.
But you don't like to handle them outside of Smith County anymore.
Not anymore, but back then I went everywhere.
Oh, okay.
What else was I doing? So I'd get a check and a ticket, and I'm thinking, wow. And it was like, as Tom Tatum said, it's like the lottery every day.
They're prepaying you. They're prepaying. I mean, you're the leader of prepaid legal services.
Yeah. And Tom would laugh. He said, man, every day's a lottery here. You get this stuff all the time. So it just kept building and building and building. And it became this incredible thing. So I developed a system of processing these things. When the first thing you do this, then you do, and it was all in forms. It was all laid out.
Because Robin, just so everybody knows, Robin worked with you like Rebecca works with me for a long time.
15 years.
Yeah.
And, but I had it to where a secretary.
She's hard to work with.
Yeah. I had whatever secretary I had a system set up that all they had to do was plug in this stuff and send it out. And I went to court when I had to, or met with a prosecutor when I had to. Other than that, I didn't do anything.
You could cut volume deals with the prosecutor on the tickets, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's dismiss these two and we'll take probation or get a fine here, whatever, right?
All kinds of deals.
But also from that, became the increasing suspension of driving privileges related to either a DWI, not paying some fine, right? And you kind of moved into that as well.
That anything to do with the driver's license. That's what I started doing, and and now what's even more interesting, nobody else wants to do this stuff.
I know you can't find somebody to take this over.
And they don't know about it. They don't want to know about it, but they know I do. And so for years, I would say now, maybe 80%, maybe not that high, but because I get a lot of people coming back, but vast majority of that business comes to me from other lawyers. The lawyer will get hired on a DWI. They don't know anything about the license part of it. So they send it to me. And I get lawyers from all over East Texas who send me this stuff, and it's a massive load of cases.
Because there's administrative procedures that you're familiar with that if the state doesn't, dot every I, you can avoid a person having their license suspended for refusing the breath test.
Right, and if it is suspended, I know how to get an occupational license. So I wrote the forms that this courts here use.
I mean, that's another one. The occupational license. That is, if you lose your license, there's a process by which you can apply for an occupational license, get one, and drive during court-approved hours, right?
Yeah.
So you can go to work and not lose your job, and at the same time, not be driving at night. But, I mean, you work that out as well, don't you?
Yeah. It's what I did was in Smith County, I went to every judge at the courthouse, all the district judges, all the county courts and law judges. And I said, what do you want? Here's what the law says about occupational license, what you have to, what else do you want that would make you feel better to sign this order? And so most of the judges had a little different thing that they would like to have in. I said, that's fine. So I did a petition and an order that had everything that any judge said they wanted in that order. Every judge
just took care of it all in one order.
Every judge knows they get the same order that every other judge gets. It all has the same stuff. And so that streamlined the process of getting an occupational license.
I mean, you are approaching, 80 years of age.
Almost. Another month.
That's why I said,
depending on the birthday.
I said approaching, and we're going to go with, when are we going to celebrate your birthday? August or September?
Well, when I found out that I had two, I started celebrating the whole month.
Okay.
I made my mother make me two pies, one on August 11th and one on September 11th.
That's the least she could do for keeping it from you.
That's what I told her.
I mean.
That's what I told her. Exactly what I told her. So I just celebrate the whole month.
All right,
but I don't have birthday parties. I don't.
No, I know you don't. But it's a mile marker, right? It's 80 years of age. It's 56 years of practicing law, right?
Right.
It's a system that you've built and you've withdrawn your practice over the years to fewer and fewer contentious things in the courtroom, haven't you?
Correct.
I mean, you used to do felonies, but you don't do those anymore.
Don't do felonies.
You used to do, child custody divorces. How were those?
Robin came to me one day. This was a long time ago when I was still doing divorces and all that stuff. She came in one day. She said, "You don't need to take any more divorces." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "I don't like them, and I'm not going to type them up and you don't like them. So there's no reason, and it's bad karma because nobody's ever happy. And so I don't think you should do it anymore." So I stopped doing it that day. And I've never been, I never missed it. Never missed that at all.
Besides your law practice, though, you were heavily involved or pretty well involved in the Democratic Party in Smith County at some point in time. That's how I kind of knew you, from the coffee shop to the Democratic Party back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And you served as county chairman for, I don't know how many, quite a few.
Well, about 10 years.
About 10 years. You met a lot of people, right? Developed a lot of good relationships. Probably met some politicians. Tell us some of the national celebrity type politician figures that you've actually met in your lifetime.
Well, I guess the first one of that level would have been Jimmy Carter. I was elected as a delegate to the National Convention for Jimmy Carter in 76. They did the system to where Lloyd Bentsen was running, and the legislature created this weird thing that you had to be elected as a delegate to the National Convention, and each candidate would run a slate of delegates, three delegates per congressional state senatorial district, I think. And because they figured Benson would win all of those, and it would sabotage Carter's campaign. Well, I'd been supporting Carter from the get-go, and I was running as a delegate and for Carter, and Lowell Starling's wife, Dorothy Starling, was running, and Smith Gilley, state representative from Greenville. We were all three running as the three delegates from this district for Carter, and we won. And so that's how I became a delegate for Jimmy Carter. Of course, I met Carter during the campaign and so forth. He was the first one, and was active in the Clinton campaign. I met him when he came to Tyler a couple of times, running for president. I met him. I don't know, a lot of senators and
Ann Richards.
Ann Richards.
I don't know how well. I know there was a lot of Tyler lawyers and people that were supportive of Ann Richards. I remember early on, like Granger,
right,
and
Mike Patterson.
And
there were a lot of Kelly Ireland, I think.
Kelly Ireland, that's right. My neighbor behind me when I was growing up.
Yeah. There were a number of
represented me at the school district when I got in trouble.
Well, that's
those records are sealed.
That's right. We don't need to talk about that.
A lot of water under the bridge, but man, I wanted to have you on this because you talked about who could tell your story, right?
She's dead.
Right. Who is there? Who'll know it? I know a lot of it. I don't know all of it, but I know a lot of it. And I wanted to get some of it because I think it's an interesting life. And there's a lot of things about you that people, if they listen to it, it can help them in their life, the things we talked about.
Well, hopefully that's like I say, that's a big part of my life now.
But you were always so, friendly, collegial. It was hard for people, I think, even as people got more partisan as time went on, people still had a hard time not liking you. Did you ever sense that?
Yeah, I did. I've made an effort over the years to get along with people. When I was chairman of the Democratic Party, there was a fellow named John, what was his name?
Van Owen?
John... It'll come to me. But he was a Republican chairman.
Oh, you're talking about Denoyles.
John Denoyles. That's correct. And there was an issue that came up where involving some stuff that was left at the Republican headquarters by a local here in Tyler. The bomb squad was called and all kinds of BS.
Democrats were back to their old dirty trick.
Right. And it turned out it was just some kids who played a prank and it just got out of hand. Anyway, it was a big deal at the time. And so Janoris and I met, and I apologized to him on behalf of whatever, and we shook hands, and it was down on the square, and we shook hands and talked, and he had a drink and I had a drink, and went away friends, and he took a lot of heat for that in the Republican Party, as I remember.
Just for
just for being a nice guy.
Cavorting with the enemy?
Well, yeah, just being a nice guy. And that I found that unfortunate. But I'll tell you what, every time I shook hands with several people were chairman of the Republican Party when I was Democratic chairman. Every one of them, when we shook hands, we had a deal, and we both knew it, and we both adhered to it. I don't think that's true anymore. Number one is I don't think there's going to be any handshaking going on, and that's too bad, because that leads to nothing but continued aggravation and animosity. But if you've got two people who are willing to reach out to one another, something positive is going to come from that. It's my feeling.
Do you think your attitude is influenced by the things you've learned with the Al-Anon? Do you think you're a different person now than you might have been 30 years ago?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I mean, you think it really kind of informs your entire life and how you deal with all people?
It does. And that's what I learned. It provides a new way of life, a new way of looking at things, and a different, not judgmental, not anger, just trying to understand the other person.
I mean, you want to make any predictions? I mean, we've got a mayor's race next week that we have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, are you still in the prognostication game?
Not particularly, but I have been cognizant. You and I talked about that yesterday a bit, about the turnout. I am surprised by the amount of turnout. It's over 6,000 people voted early. And that's, I think they had 8,000 or 8,500 who voted total in the first election. So I'm not sure what that means.
We here at the podcast like to believe that we influence those numbers.
Well, it could be.
Because we have both of them on the show.
Something has. Because particularly if you've got, 3,000 or 4,000 come out to vote in addition, that's exceeding the prior election. I don't know that that's ever happened, but I find it interesting, and my feeling, I don't know. You try to think, well, who's benefiting from that, right? Which one is benefiting? And my strict guess is, it may be Haney, because you have to go in runoff. In my history, my experience, runoffs are a weird item. It's a whole new race. You've got the original, then you've got the runoff, whole new race. The problem in runoff is that most people don't come back to vote. It's usually about half or less than what voted in the original race.
They gave all the energy they had to get there the first time.
Right. And usually the people who do come back are those who are the most motivated to come back.
Is that Haney or Nick's supporters in this case?
That's what's weird here.
Doesn't this election seem like it's hard to tell?
It is. My initial thought was the people who maybe most motivated are going to come are Nick's people. But I don't know that that's true in this election because of the turnout. And so I don't think this race can be predicted at this point because of that, because there's a lot of motivation. And so I'm curious to see what comes of this. But I couldn't call it. I can't call it because of that.
I mean, you've been here, in Tyler since the late 50s. You've seen a lot of political campaigns. You've seen a lot of people run for office, win, lose, that type of thing. Are we seeing a bit of a change in Tyler politics with the two candidates that made the runoff as opposed to, who didn't?
Oh, absolutely. I think so, at least in history. And Tyler in history, particularly, well, maybe ever. The mayor or the council people have usually been more of an establishment type thing.
Seems to be.
Whatever that is,
right? People that have lived here for generations, or
same church, same country club, this or that, and so forth. That person did not make the runoff.
Right.
So,
I mean, and two guys, one of which who was not from here, and someone else who
grew up here. but not.
But maybe there was, 1.5 generation. You know what I'm saying? It's
different.
It's not Martin Hines, right, or
Right.
someone like Martin.
Yeah, that's what. Or Don Warren.
Don Warren, or Kevin Eltife, or
Yeah, you just go back.
Smith Reynolds.
Yeah, you just go back and see it. So that is a significant change from what has been before.
Is that, a product of, the growth and the people that now live here in Tyler that are not from here?
I think so. I think that's what it is. And, those people, there's a more expansive population. I think that's the short answer to it. And it's a different group, not as tied to, and I don't know whether that's going to be good or bad, but it's a fact. It's here.
And, really, with the Hispanic population being at 35%, they really don't come out. And so their political power has not really been shown to affect a race yet, has it?
No. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It was very frustrating for me as a chairman.
All that get out the vote money you tried to get out.
It just never happened. And I began to ask why. And there was a lot of fear.
Yeah.
Of actually registering, because it would give the government a role to check and maybe start asking questions. And their kids didn't register, perhaps because of the same reason. They were protecting their parents. And there's just a lot of reasons that they did not and do not vote in the numbers that other groups do. And I think that's a large part. From what I was able to find out, that's a large part of it.
Well, the future, and Tyler, you have a pretty long view of the city. What's your prediction for the future in Tyler? Does it continue to do well, continue to grow, be a great place to live?
I think Tyler's always been a very fortunate city economically. The big People's Bank building downtown was built during the Depression. So
that's resiliency.
So Tyler said, and that's why I came. The economics was a major factor of me coming back to Tyler, very frankly. In fact, I would say that's what it was.
I didn't dub you a prosecutor or a greedy capitalist.
No, but, it does take money to live. So I am a capitalist. And so and Tyler, the things that have happened, the medical school, you just go down the line. It's an amazing thing what's happened here and continues to happen. And it will continue to grow and it'll continue to do well.
Well, John, I can't tell you how happy I am to have had this interview and had a chance to talk with you like this, to have this forever, and appreciate your friendship all the way back at a time when I needed a friend. Thanks for being on the show.
Well, you and Rebecca have been great friends to us and to me. And that's something that you were there for me, you and Rebecca, when I needed you. And that's just who we are. That's you and I. We've always been that way. You're a great friend to me, and I try to be to you. And respect and the whole thing. It's just mutual admiration.